Hello and welcome to day 2 of week 2 of the Split 2 2020 playoffs. I was completely distracted by a logo that came up. My name is Nick by Richardson. I am your host for this evening. And I tell you what, we gotta either start getting better players as casters, or we have to stop showing matches that will 100% tilt our casters before we go on air. Because between Juves and Spawn, we just constantly are seeing games where it's like, this is no mental condition to put our casting team in before we go on air. Speaking of that casting team, I am joined, as always, by Rusty, Spawn, Skimmy, and I mean, Juves, this may as well have been his face 3 years ago. I think that was the last shot we saw of him before we cut to the title sequence. Mate, that's no way to start your evening.
Dude, it's crazy. Who's responsible for doing these videos?
I know exactly who it is, and I don't think legally I'm allowed to name them, but they know who they are. They specifically said they would go and find better games, and this is what they came back with.
Ah, man, it's crazy to me. They want me to perform my best after showing things like that. I'm sitting here having to actually have a conversation with Nick Boy while two players on my previous team are playing in North America. How does that even work?
This is ridiculous. It's like people coming up to me just before we go to air and saying, Nick, your lovemaking is too good. And I'm just like, I can't deal with this now. This is just too overwhelming a piece of information to have. Skimmy, you're not tilted. You're ready for this evening.
Yeah, I mean, that's the lucky thing about me, right? You know, fresh face in the scene, so there's no history for me to look back on and be upset about. But I can feel the impact that would bring to start off a day when you're trying to feel fresh, ready, and warmed up. To sort of see that, you're trying to be excited for another team. You're still tilted about your own past team.
By the way, nice jumper. That's looking good. You look, I would say, 30% more jacked than you were yesterday.
I actually had a laugh about this before. I'm pretty sure I put this in the wash and it shrunk, so now I just look hella jacked. So, you know what? I'll take that.
Incredible. Rusty, are you feeling jealous?
That he's more jacked?
Yeah.
Nah, I'm proud of him. Honestly, that's a big deal. And I will say that while we were looking at the pre-game show, and it was Sin 2 days in a row, by the way. I feel like Juves has actually equalised after yesterday and today. I'm surprised it wasn't a swiper losing game for once in his entire life. Because that's what it usually is. A lot of the historical matches on order days are Chiefs losing.
That's true. And Spawn would know a lot about that because every time it happens, there's some sort of like, come on, guys, what are you doing to me? Today it's Juves, but Spawn, today your guys are playing, so they get a chance to show everybody wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, big, obviously, best of 5 coming up, but I can sympathize so much with Jules because just having to sit there and, like, I feel like that game to him is summer 2014 to me. When I gave my team, like, the best composition of all time, and then they just weren't able to get it done. And much in the same way, Juves. Like, Swift is overseas, Spooks is overseas, like, Ejim was supposed to go overseas. Like, all those boys are now overseas, and they just don't even care about it. But
I'm literally... Dude, now that you've actually reminded me about all the other people overseas, I just feel... I'm useless.
Yeah.
I'm literally a toothbrush that's used to clean a shower. That's what I am.
That's such a good analogy.
Hey,
I love that.
I like how everybody else is laughing, and Skimmy's like, "That's a great analogy." I appear to be the only one that
you
have
know
our
what the
friend's
sad part is about this?
at my heart and go, "Is he okay?"
You know what the sad part about this whole thing is, dude? Not one of these people in this conversation said, "Nah, you know what, Juves, you're better than a used toothbrush on a shower." Not one of them decided that I was better than a toothbrush. You all actually said, "Good analogy. That's actually true."
This is brutal. I mean, we're in for a wild ride tonight if this is how it's going to be. Can we get some loves for Juves in the chat? Because
we're all toothbrushes when you think about it. There's a reason we're all here when everyone around us has gone international. I'm not sure what to tell you. We all sympathise.
To be fair, the advantage of me is I have 0 friends who play League of Legends outside of this, so I got no one to compare myself to. So I'll go international soon. I'll be the next one, and that'll be, oh my god.
If you go international,
even Hingers is in Triple J.
What, the most Australian brand of all time?
No, I'm just saying he's gone above and beyond after he left us. There's a trend going on here.
If I go international, Spawn, there's bigger problems at hand than Juves' current mental state.
That has nothing to do with our team then. That has something to do with someone else's team that is picking you up. That's all I'm saying.
There has been a catastrophic failure in the chain of command at some point. And we can only pray that one day it will happen. But it's not going to happen anytime soon. Today, we're going to be focusing on the semi-finals before we hit the grand finals for the 2020 OPL. And we have two teams playing today in Order and the Chiefs that I would say both have something to prove. Potentially the two teams that have the most to prove in the OPL right now, because Chiefs obviously are always looking for that number one win, and yesterday we heard from Tian that they're not happy about where they placed at the end of the regular season. They feel like they deserve to be higher, and this is their chance to climb up that ladder to get into the grand final. And then, Rusty, we've got Order up against them. Order, perennial, always the bridesmaid and never the bride, and looking to take down that win when they are constantly so close but just can't seem to get it done.
But always able to make runs in Gauntlet, Nick, for what it's worth. So maybe today is going to be a continuing of that trend. I will say that while you were just seeing the bracket there and the winner of today's BO5 goes up against Legacy, I think we really do have our top three teams here today in what is the top three in the league right now. I do feel like we're absolutely where we're meant to be.
The system
and I feel
works.
like these are the three teams that have the biggest rivalry between them because, everyone knows about the OPL Classico with Chiefs Legacy. Order and Legacy. Legacy has knocked Order out of the playoffs a couple of times as well. And Chiefs Order, well, Order just keeps pinching all of... Order keeps pinching all of the Chiefs' used players. Like, they took Spooks and Swiffer, then they took Swifer, they took Ayla, they took Only. Like, Order and Chiefs have, very shared player bases over the last 3 years of League of Legends, and I feel like there has been a lot of back and forth between the players. They say it's friendly. I know for a fact sometimes it gets a little bit heated, and some of the anime pitches are a little bit more serious than you would think when they get sent online, but I'm really looking forward to this game because I think that there is a lot to it for these players. They definitely are both proud organizations. To be able to make a grand final again would be big for both of these clubs.
I did say it yesterday that I thought that PGG and Chiefs could go to 5 games, and we saw one of the shortest days, I would say, in League of Legends competitive history. But we potentially are really looking at a 5-game play today because both Chiefs and Order these are sort of knockdown, drag-out teams, and this is it. This is the last stop before the grand final. So if you're out now, then you get so close but miss by so far. So let's see what happens as we jump into another evening of League of Legends action. It is Order versus the Chiefs, and it is coming up, Game 1, with the Macca's Champ Select.
Well, I'm pretty all in this year. Win or lose, it's pretty much my last year, for sure. Winning at the end of my career would be a fantastic feeling. Losing would suck, but this will be my last year for sure. Yeah, I'm all in.
Honestly, the people on this team have been my closest friends ever in esports, so I think I've grown really close to them. Sort of get to know what their music tastes, what they like, what they dislike. So, but I think we'll still remain friends. And on the chance we do win, we'll be popping, and our bond will just grow even more.
There'll be a lot of hugs and probably some tears going around for sure.
At our best, we're probably the best team. When the boys are feeling it, I think we're the best team by far. I think I'm very confident in our ability to win.
Hello and welcome back to this year's playoffs. It's day 2, week 2 of those playoffs. It's a semi-final, and it is a final opportunity for a lot of these players. As you saw, they're only on the side of Order, showcasing that this has to be the year, this has to be the run. This is a team that he's built a lot of love around, and it wants to make sure that they have one final crack at the championship there, Rusty.
And it really is, it's a little bit sad just watching that video. I don't think the music helped my emotions watching that one, Skibby. It was a very sad experience, but if it's the last year for Only, I feel like, in all honesty, he's in his best form ever. So yeah, it's the best time for him to have that last hurrah, right? As far as I'm concerned, maybe he does get better next year, but it doesn't matter because this year he's in the top 3. He's got everything to prove. He's up against the Chiefs, and he's got a very good system. and group of teammates to work with to prove that point that they can win. And, there was no absolute confidence shown by any of them through that video, Skibby. I think that's one of the more humbling things that you would see in that. They were saying, if we win, on the chance we win. They didn't say we will win. They say we're going to do our best, and they're going to do it for only as well now.
And it seems to be the case coming into these latter rounds of the playoffs. It's not a case of, we're better than this opposition, we're going to showcase why that is the case. There's a lot of love and a lot of respect, not only within their own team, but between the teams that have made it here. You mentioned it before, the top 3 teams representing that they are the best coming into the close of 2020. And it's going to be interesting to see, because it seems that both teams have a very solid understanding of the meta as a whole. They've showcased it in some of their dominating best of 5s to date so far. And I think an interesting point is the actual jungle position itself. You talk about Only and his ability to play in that position right now, but then you talk about Croc, and they've got this big crossover, I suppose you could say, with their champion pool. Both love to go for Nidalee, both love the Karthus if given the opportunity. I think we are going to see a big emphasis on those AP junglers, and the question is, with Lilia up and available, neither of them have played it. We know that is another pick that could be on the cards tonight.
Yeah, for sure. I think Nidalee is going to be a big point of contention. When we get into our champion select, we will be probably looking at which team is on which side. We know, of course, that Order on red side for game number 1, and that to me does raise the question on Nidalee priority. Order have banned the Nidalee away from teams like Legacy, I believe it was, when they were on red side. So they potentially open up the draft pool between both junglers into something different. I think one major point of difference, though, between Croc and Only before we even get into that draft is the fact that they play different champions between each other. Croc has that weird tendency to sometimes play his Xin Zhao's, to play his Rek'Sai's, to be a different type of carry. He hasn't done that in the playoffs yet. The one, I guess, abstract champion of the lot is the Sejuani. The rest of what he has played has been a focus on hard carries, which does seem to be a major part of the Chiefs' identity. Where they're finding a lot more success lately, Skimmy, is around Croc being the carry and sacrificing their bottom lane, who is basically just an Ash Braum style lane now.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of that yesterday, right? The emphasis on him going topside, not only bolstering his own ability, but making sure that TN was as strong as possible in that same regard too. You touched on that bottom lane, you saw that both Katsuri and Draku were just able to stick to the laning phase, enjoy what that sort of presented to themselves, group up for those team fights, and given the fact that they had 3 games and 3 games as Ashe, it was like, well, we have the ability to initiate. There was no problem when it came to that, and if that fed top half of their draft was strong, then they had the ability to follow things up with. Now, we're just getting a word here from the producers as we jump into the very first game. We've got an issue I've been made aware of now with capturing the champion select. So we're going to have a graphic displayed in just a few moments to showcase what that draft looks like, what we've got ourselves looking forward to going into game number 1. And here we go. You wondered what it would be when it came to the Nidalee. It has been banned away, but we will see another pick of that Lilia, and it will be in the top lane for TN.
Yeah, so he's going to be up against a Renekton. Of course, you have to bear with us as we look at this for the first time ever, and I'm going to try and write while talking about this one. No major surprises from the Chiefs' bottom side, I'll say first. You've got the Ashe down there. It's going to be the 6th time in the playoffs that he's played this pick, Katsuri. He's up against an Ezreal Bard on the side of Order, so very different and conflicting styles here from the bottom lanes of both teams. And the reason that I start there, Skimmy, is before we even got into the game, that was really my point of difference between both rosters. You've got your carry versus tank style top laners potentially, yes, between Tan and Swiper, but they influence the map in similar ways, at least through playoffs so far. Big teleports, a lot of team play. I would say the major point of difference is Ayla versus Dragku more than anyone else, in the way that Dragku has been team fighting fine, more like a supplementary player though for the roster, where Ayla is kind of the do-or-die movements around the map for Order, and a lot of their losses, he's been getting caught out of position roaming a lot, but when they look successful, his roams have been great. And I think that the way that these drafts have panned out here is very much akin to those styles that we'll see, so a lot of it is actually about that execution.
And we're going to want to see a big performance from Ayla and Rare today, because in the previous 2 series we've seen, they've taken a bit of time to sort of find their footing in that one. They've taken about the 3rd game before they've decided, before they found the ability to up that pressure. A lot of that has then been met and responded to by Hayri in the mid lane. Had a fantastic performance in the last best of 5. He's going to get the Orianna once more and showcase that, you're given the resources, those shockwaves will land. How many decisive 3-man lockdowns do we see that just really spelt the fight going their way before there was any sort of counter response that the opposition could throw?
So one other big thing here is the Kayn. The fact that we're seeing Croc play Kayn as well kind of it's very close to what we were saying before. He does like to hard carry himself. It's a farm-based champion. And I really, more than anything else, when you look at Order's composition, Skimmy, it just makes sense. Like, it does what it does, Where on the side of the Chiefs, you've got a Lilia, and you always have to ask, can she team fight? Or will she just get one hit? Because it does seem to be a pretty persistent concern that Lilia players will face. The second thing is, will Kane get a transform before 15 minutes, or will it just be a hard run-it-down game coming out of Croc? And when you look at the opposing team, I think that we'll see a lot of top-side 2v2s, a lot of maybe protection from the Lilia to try and enable him while getting stacks for the Kane. Of course, I would expect that it is always going to be the red Kane, and that's the only place on the map that's melee. So, looking at just this draft as a standalone, I think that the game kind of gets determined in the first maybe 10 minutes from the top side of the map, depending on how that goes. If Renekton falls behind, nearly impossible to win often if you're the Renekton. And if the Kane gets ahead through those skirmishes, could just be lights out for Order.
Certainly could be, but touching on the Renekton, we've seen Swiper play it both times, in the last two times these teams met. Bear in mind, it's 3 weeks to the day today since these two teams last met, so they've definitely kept things under wrap, but no doubt been keeping a big tab as to what they've been able to achieve so far coming into this one. But yeah, we touch on the fact that Swiper's played this one, he knows what he's about, he's got the flexibility to rotate through to mid lane if need be, and I think he's one of those players that, yes, the champion needs to try and find some success in the early game, but even if he doesn't, he's got that much experience having played at this level for such a long time that he has a voice in the team, and he'll know how to find those moments regardless.
Do you watch the LEC, Skimmy?
I watch moments. I was staying up late. I saw you're up late for the Schalke Miracle run last night. I caught a couple of those games, and then I thought, you know what, it's time to go to bed.
We're all here for Schalke these days. It's a miracle run. Aussies love an underdog, so catch us up at 4 a.m. watching a European team just because they're on a run. The point that I wanted to bring up here as well is we've been seeing a lot more Lilia over there. Mainly through the jungle role, of course, but it was played in top lane as well, I will say. One of the major things that it was good at is working with a champion like a Zoe, or, someone that has a sweet spot, even like a Ziggs, which is what we actually saw, right? And one of the things that's amazing about Lilia, as we are onto the Rift here, is the team fighting. If you put someone to sleep, what can be done to follow that up and win the team fight? And in this game, I do think that's going to have a lot of onus on someone like Claire, to be able to follow up the sleeps and hit the rest of the team fight. Between Tian and Claire, they could win a whole 5v5 by just blowing up a carry.
They most certainly could. They've got the pick potential, they've got the damage. Both teams have the arsenal, both teams have the ability, and that's what we're going to find out here today. It's a semi-final, no extra lives can be afforded. Both teams have made it here, and both teams want to continue their journey. They want to book themselves into that grand final to meet Legacy. But they want to cement their own legacy as a player, as an organization at just that. A best of 5, 3 games to win it. The pressure begins now.
Right now it does look like Only and Croc potentially. Maybe elating Vade here from Croc. If that were the case, he's going to be invading to the red side of the Rift very fast at taking Raptors solo if he would like. Right now, they're about to be spotted if they move. They may have already been. Just kind of looking at the way that Order are playing right now, they're going to immediately invade themselves the second they see that information. So both teams going to be fully aware of one another.
Oh no.
Nice ward from Chiefs.
Very good ward there. Going to sidestep what was the sweeper coming here from the Olaf. So both teams going to be aware that a red buff is being stolen away. Difference will be that Croc is going to be doing this one on his own. As Order are going to be there for a slight leash. That's not going to change things too much. Katsuri's already in the lane, so might have a slight advantage, but we'll get to see what this invade continues to offer.
Yeah, so it's interesting you bring up Katsuri maybe having an advantage. That's actually not true just because of the side of the map that they've started, right? You know full well that an Olaf could level 2 gank you if you try and push the wave. He's instead just going to sit back and not touch the wave at all to try and keep it in a neutral state so they don't die to an Olaf gank. That's going to be one concern that they have. You saw the early trades from Tian as well onto Swiper. He's going to be weak-sided on this Renekton. Of course, you don't expect a Kane Lilia to be proficient at diving early, so as long as it gets under the turret, he should be fine. So we're just going to be playing strong weak side League of Legends.
And as you highlighted, this is what it means. So Katsuri isn't going to be able to find that level 2 shove and make sure that he's able to try and put some aggression out very early on. He's very aware, as is Draku, as they go for a bit of vision. So Croc is looking to try and do the same thing right now. Both aren't going to go for that level, that 2 buff rush at this stage. Both going to pop their head in and see if they can find any fight. Now, there's going to be a teleport coming in topside. Now, this is creative. You're talking about maybe no potential dive, but here comes clear from mid lane. There's Croc as well. It's going to be a 3v1. 2 turret shots go away at Tien. Now they put on damage to old Swiper. He's rooted. Croc takes another turret shot, and just like that, first blood.
And as long as Tien doesn't die to those minions, that's fantastic stuff here from the Chiefs early on into the piece. That is a whole minion wave potentially lost from Swiper. He has to teleport back up to that wave. And now Summoner Spell is going to be a little bit of miss there from Swiper. Lucky for him, of course, the damage that was sustained by the Chiefs was so significant that they're not going to be able to re-dive him. And so he is going to collect most of that experience and most of that gold. But the first blood still goes over to Tien. And Claire being up there was the difference maker to have enough damage to get that dive off.
Most certainly was. Harry in the mid lane hung on to his teleport as well, so potential advantage for them to make the similar play elsewhere on the map. If they were to go for any map rotation, be it for a fight, a skirmish, or even an objective at just that. But first blood going the way of Chiefs. It is that top side once again. You know, this seemed to be the recipe for success that the Chiefs found so much success with yesterday. Cases though, with the veteran status that Swiper has, what would this mean for him today?
Yeah, you want to say it's not the worst situation for him, but at the same time, when you think about what we highlighted from draft alone, was that Croc wants to put his damage towards a topside member. He wants to ideally be hitting Swiper only to get that evolve off as well. And he starts off by being able to successfully dive. So now Tien gets ahead, gets closer to 6. And every second closer to Tien getting 6 and Croc himself getting 6 is closer to actually being able to dive top lane as just 2. Claire kind of gets that ball in motion. Good calculations here from the Chiefs, knowing that it's 3 members they can dive.
Certainly is, and the Chiefs going to continue to invade. That's a ward from Croc. There's another one then that Tien placed moments prior towards those Crocs. Now only is waiting very patiently. Smite goes out, he steals it away. Harry comes across, gets Tevi, gets locked in place. 2v2, that's a disengage. That's a dash across. The axe continues. He flashes out of that one, but the Order boys follow. They find one. They want a second. Claire's still got that clone to utilize. He's going to sidestep the damage. He wants to hang on to that flash. That'll be all she wrote in the mid lane.
Yeah, and Only and Hayri coming up big, flashing at the exact same time, knowing that they had enough damage. The mistake there was from Croc not actually flashing the axe. So the second that had connected, tries to save the flash by queuing over the wall, pays for it with his life.
Certainly does, and that changed up the tune here. It's another game, it's another moment for Hayri to pop off and showcase his class, his expertise. A lot of the emphasis and the praise was either to Swiper, or the bottom half of their map, buffed up then by the impressive form of Only. Harry really upped his anger and his showcase that he is world class in that same right. There's the magical journey, there's the disengage away. Draku's going to follow it. He's going to get stunned. The Ignite came across. Olaf will not fall on down. What was a play to try and take that dragon will be disengaged away from, and Chiefs are still hunting.
And Claire using his flash there, it seems like they very confidently wanted to go for the kill, but I feel like Claire's direction of flash maybe wasn't ideal. There was 2 options he had, right? Flash towards the portal and take it with him. The chains would then still be in range, or flash over the wall, which I think he just missed, which may have been his other option, to just stay alongside the portal. So unfortunate there from Claire. At the end of the day, they're not going to be able to get the kill. Only just gets out with his life, but no Drake secure. Does mean that the objective is going to be upstanding, and that's a big deal, right? As we get closer to the 8-minute mark in this one, there's going to be 2 objectives up at the same time, where usually you see the Drake taken and then map flips. Maybe not the case.
Yep, the game's definitely been slowed down a little bit. It's about individual excellence as opposed to grouping up unnecessarily. Bot lane is where I'm interested to see most importantly, we saw Katsura and Draku quite contentious to farm away in their lane, not really force anything, allow the rest of the team topside to make all the pressure and make all those plays. And they were able to ensure that once Katsura did group up with their first item, the arrows were always there to start off those fights. But for Rare, we know that the guy loves to be aggressive, we know that he loves to show his mechanics off, and Ayla getting his best champion had to say with the Bard. Can be a momentum creator here in game 1.
I mean, if we're looking at momentum as well here, Hayri has all of it in the world. If you think back to the first dive in top lane, Claire uses his teleport for that one, so loses a lot of tempo in mid lane, and then Croc being caught at Raptors also chunked Claire out to the point that he had to reset. So that was a LeBlanc without the ability to teleport back to lane to reset. Hayri was, till now, 2 levels ahead of Arrows.
Yeah, level 6 is found here, but I choose bot lane first of all. Rare's forced to burn that summoner as he receives the heal. from the Bards. They need to wait for that true shot barrage to come on through before they can actually match that power. But here comes Only, waiting in the wings. There's the Journey, looking for a stun now. Cosmic Lightning will not connect, although it will in the end. Hitting terrain as it bounces off the Ash body, but they're making sure that the level 6 advantage will not net the Chiefs anything here.
And I mean, really, 8 minutes into this one, if you actually take stock of the whole map, Swiper is only 6 odd CS behind. So one wave of difference in top lane. It's 30 CS and a kill.
Yeah.
There is such a big lead going the way of Order through their mid-jungle duo that this may just be insurmountable for the next, 10 odd minutes of this game without something shifting. The best case scenario with this objective being started would be trading on the top side for Herald, but they can't even do that.
Not in a position right now, based on Croc's resources and his ability to stay on the bottom half of the map to match what would have been aggression, possibly as Order hit level 6 themselves. But now we might see an exchange take place topside. A Swiper jumps in aggressively, not going to fall victim to the damage that Lilia can throw his way. And continues to do a very good performance of not falling victim to the ranged advantage in this first blood kill.
Of course, rushing those Merc traits does make it a lot easier to exist against Lilia. Being a movement speed based champion, doubling up on the stats that you need to survive that one is pretty significant. Nice little look there. Harry, of course, very low on mana, and no flash does mean that if he was put to sleep, maybe they had enough damage for a kill threat. But so far, a lot of this game is going to be banking on Kane getting something done. And 9 minutes into this one, only the single dive really being successful has really hindered his abilities. And Order right now with their magic resistance stacked early, pretty well off.
Certainly are. They're going to be quite happy to take those fights if they were presented. Historically speaking, this year, around about 60% of the games, it has been Order that get themselves the first dragon, but then in a complete change of fate, it's usually been 60% of the Heralds going the way of Chiefs. And I kind of think that plays into the fact that we are seeing this big emphasis on them playing through jungle and top lane. That's where they want to invest their resources, and that's what we're going to see again here today.
Herald is going to be started. Rare's going to try and snag that one with an Ezreal ultimate. Very close, but not quite what he was after. So that does mean at the very least that Infernal Drake taken 2 minutes prior will be matched on the opposite side. And not a bad option here from the Chiefs. Of course, they flipped their bottom lane up, so looking for some potential gold available. And if Swiper stays up here, I wouldn't be shocked to see some reinforcements of Croc coming here. Knowing full well that the rest of Order should be responding. You would never want to leave that Croc on an island by himself.
Certainly wouldn't. He's in red hot form as is Only right now. The jungler is definitely having a lot of influence as to their team's success, not only being an individual carry, but making sure that when they group up as a team and group up with their teammates, that they find success in those 2v2s or those 3v3s as well. The Chiefs boys are going to stay to the top side as it stands right now. They've got the Herald. Not going to rush to deploy anytime soon, but might be sniffing out for a kill to break open the base.
One real change we've seen in the past 3 odd minutes as well is the difference between bot lane CS, which ultimately isn't too surprising. You've seen Chiefs try and flip the map, unleash the Lilia potentially on the Rift a little bit more. She's hit level 9 as we speak. It does do a lot of damage, as you're seeing as well with that sweet spot connecting. For triple damage, I believe it is, Skimmy. And at rank 2, that's a ridiculous amount of damage for just 2 ranks in a spell.
Certainly is. TM's going to be careful, however, because Olaf is in the area, and Rare's going to get some free damage as a result of going for the wall to reveal him. Going to threaten a ton of kill pressure, though, with his ultimate available, if he were to try and kite them away.
These waves will insta-die now. Pretty much will happen on repeat. Working towards the one big item spike. Lilia's probably strongest point in the game. Maybe 2 item spikes.
Oh, okay, Harry. Flashes forward aggressively there. Did not have a shockwave. But side takes a little bit of the damage. So both mid laners flexing their ability to be aggressive and potentially looking at a first blood or a solo kill at just that.
The CS difference in mid lane's stretching a little bit more as well here, getting closer to 40 from what was a pretty consistent 30 for quite some time. Both mid laners resetting here, only one of them having teleport. Hayri should be able to just walk to lane if he wants to as well. And that's a major advantage for the side of Order for their ability to play around this map. With 1 minute till a Mountain Drake, would not be shocked to see them path from top to bottom and look to get something done. Chiefs, however, going to try and break that earlier as Croc moves bottom.
Certainly does, and they're going to try and keep Swiper further and further behind. He was the victim for first bloods. He'll be the victim for losing more and more CS, making sure that his ability to do anything in these team fights will be impaired. There's the Bard, and that'll cancel out the headbutt. It's going to negate a ton of the damage and the work that the Chiefs have invested here bot side.
And how's that timing from Ayla as well? Talk about knowing exactly where to be when needed. Using that Bard ultimate. Oh, just missing in mid lane. Of course, saving the turret damage there, saving some extra gold going the way of TN, and also being down there early enough because he was presumably just looking to set up vision around the map. Stellar stuff here from Ayla in terms of timing.
Certainly is, and that timing is crucial because you already mentioned it with the next dragon up in just under 10 seconds. A real threat for Order to work towards in terms of a objective for that extra power. Be interested to see what we get in terms of a Cloud Soul or an Ocean Soul. Well, benefits either way for all these members on the side of Order.
Will the Chiefs contest this Drake? Neither team really having any major item spikes just yet. Both junglers do have their completed items. Pretty much sitting on the exact same items right now does mean that surely only has a bit of extra money in his pockets. Nevertheless, with both ADCs not available, Ray not having teleport, it would be a 4v4. I think Chiefs might be comfortable with that. Oh, hang on.
Yeah, Gatsuish is looking for a 1v1 right now. He's going to be forced to flash away. True Shot Barrage goes on out, but it does not connect, nor does that. And that's an Order, that's a flash, and that's your lights gone out. Just like that, Chiefs Gatsuri finds their kill. Now he's got to run far and far away. He's burned both summoners. The boys back him up. They're there to pick up the pieces, but the cost is that the Chiefs also get themselves a dragon as well.
Yeah, King Rob coming up huge. Croc maybe just looking for a couple of extra stacks here. May even in for this one.
Yep, the junglers want to biff at it as well right now. It's going to be Croc jumping on in, getting a little bit more damage, getting a few more stacks, and ensuring that the evolution will be online and ready to boot in just a few more minutes. Got to be careful though. They're looking to steal away a blue buff, and that's going to mean that Order want to commit here with a teleport. That's Order swiping on through. He goes for the stun, doesn't connect because they flash to respond to, and that's going to be the Empowered Fate as they look to try and lock him in place. Nobody will go golden here just yet. The Chiefs do a good job of disengaging to safety.
You've never seen a champion clop as fast as Lilia can once she's got 5 stacks on that Q, and that's exactly what happens there. They throw the Bard ultimate, and Tan says, no worries, I'm going to walk over to the minion wave, press Q on that, and just literally sprint my way to safety. Croc, I will say, is very lucky to be alive. He was kind of soft inting for Kayn stacks. He'd be a lot closer to evolving now as a result of that, so after he does that Krug camp, we'll see if he's able to get an evolve back in base. Right now, it does seem like Order is starting to run away with it through their mid lane and jungle position, and Swipe is still going to be pretty relevant once the team fights come about. I didn't get to see exactly what his item build was after that Merc Treads, but you would expect the Black Cleaver team fight build. He wouldn't be going for a duelist, yeah. Definitely not going to go duel and TN anytime soon.
No, not going to be after that Blood of the Rune King for the split push pressure. Just wants to be viable in those team fights to make targets squishier and easier to take down with the likes of an Ezreal and an Olaf. And, we run it back to that play from just before. The cost was a little bit high for Order. They commit a teleport, they commit 2 flashes as well. Unfortunately, unable to find a target to lock down, and kind of the beauty there of this Lilia pick.
And now we spoke about the last Drake fight not really having item spikes, Skimmy, but it's abundantly clear that we're starting to get them now. One other thing we didn't talk about in too much detail was that mid lane and AD carry of Order are both going tier stacking items. So they're starting to come online now. Of course, they've got the precursor items of the Archangels and the Manamune. A few more minutes, and when they evolve, they will be exceptionally powerful. And they're already in pretty good stead. Of course, credit where it's due to King Rob being able to get that 1v1 in top lane, buying them a Drake, we're fighting again.
Ragnarok has to be burnt there. They respect the fact that the Lullaby is a very real threat at this stage. Anywhere Lilia goes, might look to try and take a target on down as both these mid laners are going to flex their ability in the top side of the map. Both have blue buff.
Surely that's evolved, Skibby. 17 minutes in, you'd want to hope that that was enough damage to get it. He's standing still. Come on. Ah. Poor guy.
He needs to fight just a little bit more. Defense been risk adverse. He's been hunting for them. But I wonder what the play is here for Order. As you already mentioned, they've both gone for those tier items. Obviously, Harry is well ahead of the clock at this stage. He's been really accelerated as a result of Clay committing that teleport topside for that first blood. He didn't respond, he didn't match. No, he just pushed out that wave and punished. The the retreating LeBlanc. So whether or not they want to go into this next fight, because Lunzeko's there to match, and with a Dark Seal too, you have to say they're pretty much even at this stage.
That's it, right? I actually think that if I was the Chiefs, I'd be looking to pick a fight for this one. If they find the opportunity, I wouldn't be too shocked to even see them kick off the Herald and try and bring order to them, but at the same time, would order match it? Is going to be the question that we should be asking here. All of the vision control does belong to Chiefs. They have a lot of topside river control. Bard is actually on the bot side, so maybe even looking to invade the red side quadrant of the Chiefs. This may be the first time we see them truly start to try and move into the topside river after this mid-wave.
Let's see who goes for the kill pressure right now. You can see that the Chiefs continue to have a lot of investment towards this mid-wave, making sure that they're the first ones to rotate. But as you already highlight, seems like very different focuses from these teams. Of Order putting a lot of their investment on that vision towards the bottom side of the river, the entrances into it from the enemy jungle, whereas the Chiefs very much on the cause and case of concern to say, we want this Herald, we want more structural power, we want to make sure that that Tempered Fate has to be burnt for denial rather than engage.
Croc, of course, you can see has evolved now, so for what it's worth, he's going to be a bit more powerful, running around on the Rift, ready to team fight. And that was maybe the one last thing that we were really waiting for here. Once he had that transform available, they are probably team fight ready. But they're not really looking to force that one just yet. In fact, they're going to go to the other side of the Rift and maybe look for Drake priority. There's a notable difference here between mid laners, and that may be why they'll be pretty content trading for just now. Though we already spoke about this, Skimmy, in terms of items. It doesn't feel like there's a significant difference at the current moment. So I would say I'm a little bit surprised.
Certainly am, because Order now will say, well, you can have that Ocean Dragon, we're going to have more pushing power, and that's exactly what we're finding, because that is where Harry is. He's on that side of the map, pushing in that wave, forcing Clear to respond, and forcing Clear to pick up those pieces. So what can the Chiefs do as a result? They're going to now send Lilia to the bottom half of the map and look to try and find their first turret of the game as well. I mean, that really is the proof of what this CS advantage as well as kill advantage nets you at the 20-minute mark. He's up by 2.5k.
And I will say that, we're 19 minutes into this one. Order only just barely get that Herald before it expires, from what I could tell as well. That's not exactly turret plates and, free gold that's going to go into the hands of Order by any means now, where what Chiefs have done by securing the Ocean Drake is it is Ocean Soul. They've put themselves one step closer to that Soul point, which may actually prove dividends. If the game continues on the trajectory where they focus the Drake, so it could just be a conscious decision from Chiefs saying, why contest a Herald when it's just a needless risk? It doesn't actually provide anything until it charges. Why not just go for the Ocean Drake and take the free chance at a Soul?
Get those combat summoners. We know we want to fight. We know we want to siege. We know we have a composition that can be very oppressive, and especially with the lack of summoner cleansers, you're very much reliant on the likes of the Mikhails or a QSS, which is exactly what we're going to find here from Bard. He's gone for the Mikhails. Out goes the arrow. Does not connect. Neither does the Dredge line, and that's a window of opportunity for the Chiefs to possess. In comes Clear. Can't connect with the chains. It's a good time for them to fight, though. You talk about the evolution, and that's exactly what they'll have between it's Ezreal and Orianna. 2-item spike for the two of them. Banshee's Veil and the Iceborne Gauntlet as well.
Now that eye will most likely be protected here from the Herald, and should just get a single charge off if it wants to turn around. Does get the charge off. So that's all they're really going to get from this, right? So exactly like we just spoke about, is that Herald worth it for Order? I think yes, because they didn't have full item spikes. They do now, of course. Is that Drake worth it? Oh, hang on.
Forcing the flash out of the AD carry there. Katsuri, no mana. Very little health as well. He's standing next to a depleted turret after the headbutt that connects. Order still want more, though, and for good reason as well. They've got those power spikes, they've got the item advantages, and they're driving that tempo to their opponents now.
Yeah, they've also got numbers on the map, so this should just be a free turret they should be able to take. Oh, Croc.
Croc's got to be careful. Ooh, flashes out of the shockwave there. Would have certainly spelled disaster. It would have been a buff transfer with the blue buff into the hands of an Orianna like this. You can't afford to give him any kind of advantage given how far ahead he is in that CS department. It was 30 in laning phase. It's starting to build up to 70 and more.
Just overstays his welcome there a little bit too much, Croc. That's not a wave you have permission to clear when Order know that your AD carry is in base with no teleport, and especially with no flash once he comes back out. There's just no way that you're going to be able to clear that one. So now he has to flash himself. 2 summoner spells burned by the side of Order. just from some good trading and a Bard ultimate. Going to be very good stead for them for this next fight that comes up in, assumedly 2 minutes. The next Ocean Drake of the game.
Question is though, will Order look to fight before that takes on place? Still a big advantage now that is warranted in this mid lane. AD carries are going to be matched, but he doesn't have a flash, whereas Rare does. And already a nimble kit is the Ezreal, so they've got small advantages in their carry positions that could net them some big advantages. Obviously Ragnarok as well, completely nullifying the ultimate of the Lilia. So we're not there just waiting for that 90-second handshake of a Dragon contest, or if they'll be actually on the map for those fights.
Nice little smack there from there. He's actually going to put him to sleep. That's bold. Once again, a minute 20 till the next objective. So you would think that the ult will be available for that, but only just. It does mean that you have less power in the minutes leading up to it, which is going to be spent placing vision. So it's a little bit tragic there from Tan. Probably at his strongest point in the game, now that he is level 2 in ult, 2 item spikes. Ayla and Kled is going to flash down the backside as well, looking for one another. So once again, forcing on the map. I'm pretty sure that this Drake just belongs to Order with the way that this has been playing out, unless they make a mistake.
So it seems to be that way right now, but Order will stick to those sidelines as well, making sure that every wave is crashing at a good point, and making sure that the Chiefs, if they do go for that contest, will bleed a whole bunch more as a result. Croc does not have a flash, is in a whole host of trouble right now, needs to get inside somebody, needs to pop that ultimate, which he will do indeed, but he needs his team to come up to his aid right now. He jumps out, he knocks up, he disengages away, he survives! But here comes the big crocodile himself. You take out the Croc, but there's another on your back door. There's Swiper, drops down to half, commits the flash, but takes you down. And that is a good fight here for Order. Max range, dredge line, could he fight it here? There he goes. Shut down for TM, but a shockwave locks him in place. 2 for the man known as Rare 7. And Harry Low, Katsuri wants it. And Katsuri will find it with the aid of a very low HP TN.
And Chiefs just clutched the team fight victory coming out. It's a 3 for 4 in the end, and just barely. They were a few hundred health away from being ace themselves. But that's the sign of a just very good individual team pulling out the mechanics that are needed. Croc, while he was caught, can survive for a significant amount of time. He is Red Cane. He sits inside the person for the maximum duration that he chooses here. Has the Conqueror proc and is able to survive for just so long. Ash arrows come in. Tan's just going to litter some damage during this as well. And Hayri's very much caught out of position, so has to flash, use Seraph, survive for as long as he can. And during that period of time, Chiefs have already killed someone. So now Tan with full HP, 2 items like we spoke about. Honestly, more than anything else, probably just wishing you had that ultimate available right now. Could have been a complete wipe. Rare's going to come in and flash just to make sure that they trade. At the end of the day, Tan surviving means he also has the teleport, so you'll see him get the shutdown and immediately teleport back in for that Drake. Chiefs now, sole point.
They most certainly are. A big fight against the grain of what this game was looking right. It was 5k down against them. And you're thinking that Order had the strength, they had the item advantages, they had a pick, most importantly, on towards that Kane. And he bought just so much time, allowed the rest of the team to come across. And a big exchange. There were summoners of mechanics of skill shots landing and just a mental edge to say, are you going to stick around? Will you go for this or will you not? The Chiefs, well, it pays off big time. They made that switch as to do we go for Herald or do we go for Dragon? And now they put themselves on a sole point to look forward to at that 30-minute mark.
80 CS difference in mid lane, but what difference does it actually make if it's just going to be Hayri getting caught in fights? It's going to be hard to be this Orianna, of course. You can see it right now. They're looking.
Going to try and pop that spell shit. He goes for a shockwave, just connects to Croc right now. He's looking for the ultimate. He has it. He's going to juggle that turret aggro. Drake's going to fall on down.
He lives here.
Red picks it up. Harry survives. And now, the assassination squad, the 3-man dive from the Chiefs, is completely dismantled.
I'll tell you what, we ask what difference does it make? It could mean the entire game. They try and force a dive onto someone. They get the Banshees veiled. Hayri just stands and delivers. Shockwave connects. Order win the team fight on the back of their mid laner. Chiefs overexert themselves for an opportunity that wasn't really there. The force was so hard. The payback is going to be tenfold with this Baron secure.
So difficult to take then, Orianna. We thought he was in trouble. We thought he had no flash, but between Banshees and Seraphs, it was just enough time for the teleport in there from Swipey, from the teleport in there from Rare as well. And for them to come to his aid, make it a fair fight. Make it a fight that'll give them the Baron buff as well.
Just not a lot of damage really coming out of that trio that we're looking up there. If you've got a Kane, right? 0-3 Kane now, by the way. And we have just switched to gold, so it's kind of going to ruin my point. We'll look at gold for a second and we'll go back to it. 4,000 in mid lane, by the way, Skimmy.
Yeah.
Just a couple K there. Just waiting for items to come back. There we go. So Kane's gone for a Spirit Visage. Skimmy, he's gone full tank Kane. He has no damage. Hayri right now is rocking a Seraph's Embrace, which basically just means Kane does 0 damage through that fight, and a Banshee's Veil and Merc Treads, which means that Claire's damage was severely hindered. If your trio that is diving is a tank Kane, a LeBlanc, and a Nautilus, you're probably not going to have enough damage to take out Hayri unless he walks straight into your face. So it's very unfortunate there. The Chiefs choose to overexert themselves for that decision, but very nicely played by the side of Order, and particularly Hayri, of course, to punish them.
Certainly is, and that means he's now got himself a Void Staff. Executionist is there for Rez Ezreal too, and that means that with an edge in the team fights with this Baron buff, they'll also find themselves success by going for a successful Siege 2. The waves are pushed, it's a 4-1 split, top and mid are the focus, but they know 90 seconds for a Soul Point Decider. The Baron buff may have just expired by that time. No doubt still be feeling very happy with the position they put themselves in. Based on what was a 5k gap beforehand, shrunk to 3. They're now up healthy by 6k again.
And Tien, once again, does still make this Lilia look like an outstanding pick. He's been doing a lot of work for Oceanic Lilia players. 3-0-2 right now, and he's gone for the Zhonya's Hourglass third. So instead of going a full tank build, you know, the Deadman's or the Abyssal Mask that we have seen from Lilia's before, when I see a Zhonya's Hourglass, I think that he wants to be helping initiate in team fights, right? Hit the flash Q, or the Q flash more specifically, then Zhonya's to put everyone, and while they're all going to sleep, you don't take damage. Could be what we're looking at here. Tien maybe going to try and make the difference when it comes to this team fighting. And Katsuri also has been quietly achieving in a game that's been really difficult for him to play. You know, gets the 1v1s, playing confidently. Seems like he's going to be a man invigorated today. It's the rest of the map that really has been struggling. If they get this Ocean Soul, then just maybe, unless of course they get ace for it, but just maybe they may be able to stay in this game, as Ayla has just ulted himself.
Yep.
Not Croc.
Very defensive ult there. Rare continues to look for that fight. He's aggressive. We know it for him. And the Chiefs are going to say, well, there's no big rush for us right now. We know how far behind we are in this game. We know we still threaten that Soul Point. We need to try and gain some map control back because they're bleeding 5-3. There's the arrow! Oh, good Astral Shift away. Once again, does not have that Summoner Cleanse. Fully reliant on Ayla's Mikhail's Crucible. And with the point you raised before with Tien, is that Lilia has to be a target he ensures gets put to sleep.
Ayla not having that ultimate does potentially hurt them if Chiefs try and force a team fight. Of course, that was just purely a misclick from Ayla. There's no other way to look at it. He may have even clicked self-cast by accident. It's hard to say for certain, but end of the day, they will secure the Drake here order, and that's what matters the most. You know, they delay Chiefs' potential win conditions by another 5 minutes, and that's a point where they're 6,000 gold ahead. There is a ridiculously fed mid laner running around the Rift. And every minute spent with Hayri being active is a minute spent where Chiefs have to just fully respect his just existence right now. And he'll be getting closer to what you think is a death cap, surely. Going up here, huge spike when he gets that.
Certainly could see that being a situation that will just ramp up his damage, something shocking at this stage of the game. We're already starting to see that if you're locked in place right now, without any magic resistance to respond to it, you're as good as gone at this stage of the game. Both going to be sitting to that top side of the map, endlessly playing a game of ping pong to find as much CS and advantages in those 1v1s as possible. But you know, we're continuing to build that narrative from what was 30 CS in the laning phase up to what crazy numbers of 100. Hayri is continuing to impress, really finding that playoff buff from what was such a strong week in the previous weekends and bringing it into a very important semi-final here today.
That's the thing, right? He is actually majority of the gold difference between both of these teams in game number 1. It's going to be a lot through jungle, presumably, as well right now. Only has been hard farming his way through this one as well. He's going to be 50-odd CS up. 0-3 Kane's just having a pretty hard go of it. But through majority of the gold lead being in that mid lane, it does mean that all eyes are on Hayri for game number 1. You know, he has been an outstanding player through the playoffs so far. He's been lane swapping, he's been mechanically just monstering team fights, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it again from him. But all eyes are going to stay on Hayri to see how he team fights, because if he dies, Chiefs could win.
Certainly could, and we're seeing that both teams are starting to respect the severity of this next team fight. Elixirs are being picked up, stopwatches are there for the taking. Items are starting to hit their max points of potential. The 40% CDR is there for the Ezreal. Both AD carries now having some form of healing cut to ensure that they find a target, they lock them down. They won't have that get out of jail free card.
There's an Ash Arrow just chucked there in mid lane. Enchanted Crystal Arrow does go wide. Lilia going to be hunting. This is a point where the Chiefs looked the most dangerous yesterday. Was Lilia just throwing bowling balls down lanes. Draku
Be
caught.
careful. Yep, hooks himself out, then commits the flash. Going to turn around there with the ultimate. Going to look to try and buy as much time as possible. Cannot hook himself back to that tier 1. Kensui looks to place him with a temper fate. He's going to inspire. And here comes Swipe. It stuns him. Gets put to sleep. Tien on the flank. The rest of the boys locked in place in mid sides. What can the Chiefs find here? Everybody goes gold and everybody trying to find that fight that spells disaster. Harry showcasing why he's so far ahead of his counterpart right now. He takes that Kensui. The score sheet lights up red as we see all the things go the way of order so far. He's fed, and he'll find himself a double kill that responds in fantastic fashion because of it.
Yeah, in order just team fighting exceptionally. They catch Draku out of position, maybe just trying to get some wards over towards the Baron buff, but it's a too little too late situation. They win a single team fight here, and they should just be able to push towards the Nexus. Tien tries to trim the wave, but one minion standing could just be enough. Draku alive, they can't stop it.
They cannot stop this one. 5 health members of the Order boys are going to run straight through mid lane at the 34-minute mark. Order are going to kick this best of 5 off with a win.
A fantastic game one from Order. Great draft from them, first of all. You know, the Renekton being weak side does look very different to what we saw for a weak side Renekton yesterday from Biopanther. Swiper's managing to keep his farm up, right? Definitely still very relevant even after a successful dive. Looking at the rest of the map here as well, just a hero's performance from Hayri working well with only. And that's the most important thing, right? We spoke about the win conditions here from Chiefs. They made it a little bit harder on themselves than perhaps necessary through draft, but the punish was swift from Order, no hesitation. They get a lead, and that was really it.
And it was such a small margin play at just that, right? The fact that they went topside, they looked for that kill, they were successful in that kill, but Harry said, well, you can do that. And I was wondering, you know, why did he not match it with the teleport? Why did he not respond? But, I mean, all my concerns, all my questions, I suppose, were instantly diminished and sort of taken away as he just showcased, well, this is the reason why, Skimmy. I'm up by 100 CS, I'm landing big damage, and there's no response, really, that the Chiefs can throw their way. So we're going to jump to game number 2 just after the break, and we'll see how the series continues.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! It's deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.